Thanks everybody for being here this morning. I know we all have busy schedules and this is just a really important topic, and I appreciate you taking the time out today to focus on it. Wanted to mention that, being here today, you're going to be offering your suggestions about ways that the County of San Diego and together with you can improve disaster preparedness for access and functional needs population. Given the focus of our forum here today, I wanted to mention that 1 in 4 San Diegans have mental health challenges. And while that's a really broad group, it is a significant number of people. And that's not to say that there are considerations or things that need to be done in advance for every one of those individuals, but that is a significant population and something that is important that we focus on to see what can be done in advance of the next disaster to make sure that we're looking at the needs of our entire community. At this conference last year, one of the suggestions that came from you all is that we put together a working group to focus on access and functional needs, and that's been done. This group meets once a month. How many of you in here are a part of that group? All right, a good number of you. So the rest of you join in. There's a huge amount of collective expertise in this room, and we want to capitalize on that and keep the momentum going after today. So we'd really encourage you to get involved, to bring your passion and expertise to that working group, and to help progress beyond our talks here today. San Diego County is really looking at integrating access and functional needs into all of our disaster planning activities, not as a separate plan, but actually integrating those needs into our planning process. We already have, just to give you an idea of some of the progress that we've made, we already have supplies that are readily available for deployment to meet the needs of the access and functional needs populations in our shelters. Some of those supplies include ADA accessible cots, heavy-duty cots. We have extra walkers and also shower chairs that are available. Another important advancement is, you've all heard of Reverse 911 or Alert San Diego. We'll soon be promoting Accessible Alert San Diego. For those of you who don't know, that's a mass notification system so that in the event of a disaster, we can reach out to the public and give them critical, timely information that they may need. Accessible Alert San Diego is specifically for deaf, hard of hearing, and deaf-blind population, and will be able to relay emergency messages available in sign language, text, and English voice. So we're partnering with DeafLink on that, and we're excited about that, that advancement. We've also created numerous communications that are specific to the needs of the access and functional needs population, and we look forward to partnering with you to create additional communications that are tailored to different populations within that overall group. The operational area emergency operations center also will have an access and functional needs coordinator in the event of a disaster, and that person will specifically be responsible for addressing the needs of the access and functional needs population. That includes when we go and we're perhaps opening shelters, they'll be looking at those facilities to make sure that they are appropriate. They will be looking at congregate feeding facilities and local assistance centers to make sure that the physical buildings that we are choosing are appropriate and meet the needs of this population. We also, there's much focus on what can we do now to make the recovery from a disaster more smooth, advanced recovery as we call it. There are numerous things that can be done in advance of a disaster. We know it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when we'll have a disaster here in San Diego County again. We've had 2, as you know, huge fires in the last 10 years. So if I had to bet, I would bet we're going to have another fire probably in the next 10 years. So there are things that we can do now to make the recovery easier. We have currently memorandums of understanding with MTS and North County Transit District for the use of their paratransit buses and drivers, so that during a disaster we can increase the transportation capability of people with mobility needs. So we're looking at those types of things. What actions can we take now that will help as we respond and as we recover from the next disaster. So really looking forward to the breakout sessions where we can, again, capitalize and use the collective expertise that exists in this room. So thank you for being here, and I apologize now, but I have to leave, but I will get a full briefing of everything that you've accomplished today, and thanks again for your time.
Hi, my name is Kurt Luthi, and I'm the one that's been sending you emails. We are glad that you're here today, and I want to take this opportunity to introduce my boss, Mr. Andy McKellar, from the American Red Cross chapter here in San Diego counties and Imperial counties. So, Andy.
Well, welcome to today's conference, the second one we've had. As you know, the first one focused on, if you were here for that, focused on physical needs and access and that sort of stuff. This one, we want to focus more on the cognitive behaviors, those sorts of things, the people that we don't talk about much. We all have a hard time dealing with folks that have maybe intellectual disabilities or behavioral issues. That's tough for most people to deal with on a day-to-day basis, let alone during a disaster. So how do we come together and how do we figure out how to do that? And it's not a subject that's widely discussed, and we need to discuss it. Our hope is after this conference that it'll create a more robust conversation around that piece so that we can figure out how to help these folks, the people who need it most during a disaster. How do we do that? That's stuff we got to figure out. The county's put together this AFN working group. That's a good place to start. So if you're not involved, please get involved. We need that. We need your expertise. That's why you're here. That's why we asked you to be here. I have a couple of remarks that I wrote down. So, excuse me. Sorry, wrong speech. That was my joke. I'm funnier I'm quicker if you laugh. I'll leave sooner. The challenges these folks face are unique, quite obviously. And as I said, I'm not really well skilled on how to do that or what their needs might be at any given moment. That's why we've asked you folks to come in, be part of this conference, and hopefully part of that working group, and give us the advice that we need. How can we best serve this community all the time, and how can we do it especially during a disaster? It's for people that don't face these challenges, it's a confusing, a hectic time. I can only imagine, in fact, I really can imagine what it's like for someone who may not have the same mental skills and abilities that other people have. How much more confusing is it? How much more panic does it set in? How much more help do they need, and how do we give it properly? So that's why we've asked you to be here today. So on behalf of the Red Cross and the County of San Diego, thank you for being here, and we hope we'll all get something out of this. Thank you very much.
So just a few housekeeping items. One of the things that you'll want to know where it is the restrooms. If you go out this door, any of the doors here on the back wall, and hang a left, the men's is right to your left, and then the women's restroom is, if you go on around the corner, it's just right there. There is also another set of restrooms on another building that's one building over. So if you need a restroom, that's where those are. The emergency exits are obviously well defined, so hit a door and excuse yourself if we don't anticipate anything happening, but if there is, find your way to a safe location. Our speaker sessions are being taped. I wanted to let you know that because we have an opportunity today to do something that it's a conversation that we haven't found anywhere else yet in the nation. And so we have an opportunity to kind of be on the front edge, the bleeding edge of how do you best serve people with cognitive and behavioral challenges during a disaster. And so we are taping these sessions. We'll actually post them on our Red Cross chapter's YouTube channel. So post-conference, I'll be sending out that information so that you guys can have it. You can share it with your colleagues and your coworkers that weren't able to attend this morning, and we can continue to spread the expertise that we're trying to gather and to continue the conversation that this day is designed to have. On that note, we did put a lot of thought into how this day is set up. The fact that you're at tables with people that you may or may not know, the afternoon session when we break out. It's all designed to be tight, and it's designed to be a close-knit unit. The reason for that is during a disaster, we're it. In San Diego County, in our disaster plan and planning, when we think about a catastrophic disaster, we're on our own for the first 72 hours at least. And so part of the design of these conferences, this being the second annual one, the design of the working group that meets on a monthly basis is so that we know each other. We're in the same room on a regular basis. We put a name with a face. We know who does what, who has access to what resources, and we're better able to be the team that we will have to be during a disaster. Does that make any sense? So I'm glad that you're here. I'm super excited because we have new faces here. We have people here that are going to be able to contribute their expertise. Now, in college, I had a professor that told me, when you graduate, you're going to be the resident expert. And I go, well, I don't feel like a resident expert. But when there's nobody else around, you're the resident expert. And so for today, we are the ones that have the expertise for this particular topic and subject matter. I can't tell you how thankful we are that you've taken time out of your day and your schedule to be here. The topic that we're talking about is of the utmost importance. And we want San Diego to be the best prepared community and county in the country. And part of that is to dive into this topic and try to figure out what we can do that maybe we haven't been doing in the past. One of the things that you'll find in your packet that you got at registration is on the left-hand side is our speakers' bios, and then on the right side are some resources that our team of researchers put together from just some research that they've done online and through their expertise in their field. And it's just a sampling. It's not there to do anything other than jumpstart the conversation. Because as we move into the afternoon session, the purpose of our breakout, after we hear all of our speakers in the morning and then one in the afternoon, is to actually produce something that would help us serve this clientele better during a disaster. Our intent for the afternoon session is to come up with some tangible deliverables. Are you with me? Okay. I need to see more heads nodding. So one of the reasons why we've designed the afternoon that way is because when we did our research, we found plenty of videos that talked about what it might look like to live with autism. And we found some information about Alzheimer's. But what we weren't finding is what does it look like to have autism in a disaster? What does it look like to have Alzheimer's as we prepare for a disaster or as a disaster is happening? What does it look like when there's a shelter-in-place notification? What does it look like when there's a call to evacuate? What does it look like for our mass care shelters when people find themselves there with or without a personal care attendant? So we want this afternoon and the conversations that you have with the people at your table during the morning and to hear from our speakers to all be focusing in on what do we do to not just serve this clientele well, but to serve this clientele with excellence? We want to have something that we would be proud to present nationwide as something that other people could model their disaster preparedness and their disaster response after. So that's our goal.